Well, welcome to another Crucible Catch Up. Yesterday was absolutely fascinating here in Sheffield. I'm joined by Charlie Talbot Smith. He writes for Sportsbeat. Charlie, let's first of all talk about another amazing upset. Robert Milkins, a qualifier, knocked out Jimmy White in the last round at the EIS, overturning Neil Robertson. What an absolutely enthralling match.
It really was. I mean, this is the tournament that just seems to keep on giving in this first round, upset after upset after upset. And this one, well, if you speak to the players on tour, they'll tell you it probably wasn't that surprising because a lot of people know about Robert Milkins and the talent that he has. But what really surprised me was the way he went about it. Robert Milkins in the past was known as a flashy shot maker, one of the most talented players, but the sort of player that you'd probably go into expecting a bit of a shootout, balls all over the place. But it was his safety play that was probably the most impressive part of it. And Neil Robertson, we all know he's got the sort of the all-round game. He's won world titles. He's a quality player. But Milkins really sort of broke him down. And by the end, Neil was, as he said himself in his press conference after, he'd lost his cueing. Like Robert had really sort of broken him down and very much deserved to win. And now you look at the draw and what an opportunity he's got to not just go past the second round, but I mean he could go deep into this tournament. And what a story it would be for a man who not long ago was, I mean, snooker was the last thing on his mind.
Yeah, you're referring to his troubles off the table, and when he came and sat in this very place, actually, at the post-match press conference, I thought he was a touch emotional. He talked about being evicted from his flat, at the passing of his mum and dad, and then the divorce. He was in a really, really bad place. So, from a journalist's perspective, that's a great story.
It's an incredible story. It really is. It's the sort of thing you couldn't really write. It's astonishing that, and it's not that long ago either. We're talking just a few years ago. He was, as you say, evicted. He lost his mum and his dad in quick succession. He was going out drinking. He had big sort of gambling debts, and by his own admission, it looked like his snooker career was pretty much down the drain. But his sort of family and friends have rallied round, and it just shows that when you've got the natural talent, just a little bit of consistency, a little bit of solidity off the table, and you can have results like that.
He also spoke about what you've alluded to, that quarter of their draw is absolutely wide open. He plays Ricky Walden, and then there's a quarter final against either Dechawet Poomjang, who's struggling, we'll talk about that in a moment, or Michael White. So one of those four players is going to be a World Championship semi-finalist. You'd never have predicted that before the tournament.
It genuinely is amazing, and obviously Robert played fantastically well, but in my view, someone like Ricky Walden, I mean, that is a fantastic opportunity for Ricky. He played beautifully in his first round, destroyed Michael Holt, and he practiced with Sean Murphy the week before the Worlds, and Sean Murphy's tweeted and said in his press conference that he was just picking out balls for Ricky all week, and what a chance for Ricky Walden there to go into a World Championship semi-final. I mean, it would be great for him. Obviously, you can't write off Michael and Dechawet, who obviously are debutants, and you never know what might happen there, but it's a really amazing opportunity for those four guys.
Well, let's talk about Poomjang and White. Michael White, the only representative left in the tournament for Wales after knocking out his boyhood hero Mark Williams, and he produced a brilliant session of snooker. I mean, helped a little bit by Poomjang conceding the frame. What are your thoughts about the man from Thailand? Because I know opinion is a little bit divided in the press room.
It's a difficult one. I mean, as you say, there are a few sceptics out there, and I'd probably put myself slightly in their camp because, I mean, what must Stephen Maguire have been thinking sitting at home watching that after Poomjang just, I mean, he's a sort of force of nature, and he played beautifully to beat Stephen. And then yesterday was, I mean, it was farcical almost. I'm afraid, like as you say, as you alluded to there, that sort of 3 consecutive misses throwing away that frame. Michael did very well. I mean, Michael did really well to just keep his composure and just keep playing his own game and not get carried away with it. The Crucible crowd love him. You can see why. He's a real character. I mean, Lord knows what he's going to do next. I don't think he knows what he's going to do next. You can't take your eyes off him. But yesterday was probably the slightly more negative side of it, because by the end, Michaela Tabb, the referee, she sort of lost it a little bit. She was sort of picking up the white ball when she shouldn't have been. Obviously, mistakes can easily happen. She's a great ref, but it was all bordering a little bit on the farcical. But Michael White kept his cool. He didn't play that well. He did enough to beat Dechawet, who was clearly really struggling. But Poomjang, he had his chances in that match, in that sort of first session. He was in the balls and just he couldn't put a score together at all. But we'll wait and see. I mean, there's another session to come. Hopefully, Deseret can turn it around and maybe sort of make a bit of a game of it, because at the moment it looks a bit like a procession.
But, I mean, is there a feeling now that perhaps some of his enthusiasm and his, very expressive gesturing around the table, is there a feeling that perhaps it's deliberate? Because I think the reason the crowd like him and have done thus far is that it's felt as though those emotions have been very instinctive, actually, and not premeditated at all.
Well, it's kind of a sort of a catch-22, really, isn't it? The reason why the crowd fell in love with him was because he was a bit of a character, a bit of an oddball, for want of a better word. And then he's obviously playing off that, and he's recognised that he's become a bit of a fan's favourite. And suddenly, you're probably right. He's probably now a little bit confused I mean, if you look at the scoreline anyway, you'd have to suggest he might even be a bit distracted by the fact that the crowd love him, there's whooping, cheering, he's there giving it the big one, clapping his hands after he misses balls. It's tough. I mean, you want a bit of fun, but again, you've got to show a bit of respect to Michael. It is a World Championship sort of last 16 with a quarter-final place at stake. You don't want it to be absurd, but you want a bit of entertainment, so I suppose you probably need to find that middle ground.
Well, entertainment is something we're certainly getting with Poomjang. Just finally, let's touch on Sean Murphy against Graham Dott. An excellent start from Sean Murphy, who gave us some glimpses in his second session during the 10-5 victory over Martin Gould. Murphy, we haven't necessarily spoken a great deal about him in the lead up to this championship, inevitably because there's been so much spoken about Ronnie and Selby and the likes of Robertson. But Murphy's brought his A game this year.
It looks like it. It really does look like it. And we all know that when Sean Murphy's on fire, there's very few people, if anyone, who can hang with him. He has looked very good. I mean, we'll wait and see how it plays out. But he's in a very strong position, and he's got the game. We all know that. He's won here before. He loves it here. If you look at, for example, the UK's, he got to the final there. That semi-final display when he was down against Ali Carter, and then just sort of turned on the style. If he can produce that sort of form, then we're looking at a potential Judd Trump quarter-final. What a matchup that would be. And then maybe a semi, who knows, you don't want to look too far ahead, but maybe a semi with Ronnie as well. The way he's playing at the moment, you'd say Graham's going to have to play really, really well to begin to turn that round, and Sean Murphy could go really far this year.
Great stuff, thanks Charlie. As is always the case with these Crucible catch-ups, there is so much to talk about. It really is turning out to be an enthralling championship for so many different reasons. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow.